my calves used to be so tight. Every night when I would get in bed, I was like, oh my God, they were just so tight. And I tried stretching them out, and I took magnesium. I did everything, but when I got this, all of a sudden my knees not hurting and my calves aren't hurting anymore either. Both of my thumbs and one of my fingers in the middle. So those started moving a lot.
Hey, Trudy, thanks so much for coming to spend some time with me.
Sure.
How are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I'm dry tonight. It's not raining in Vermont yet, really heavy. So we're good. We've had it for so many days. It's just amazing.
In the summer, huh?
Oh, we've had probably a month of rain. We had flooding on the 10th of July, and the whole capital got wiped out. The whole city was flooded. Several towns were flooded. We lost tons of roads. It's really bad. It's really bad. And now they're saying it's going to be in New Hampshire tonight. So I don't know. It's just crazy weather. Crazy.
I know. It's very unusual.
Yeah.
We had a weird winter
sure.
in California, and we had, I want to say, 3 times normal rain here in the winter. It was nuts. Our septic overflew, it's like, it was just nuts. So I look forward to hearing your story.
Yeah, because I went out there once and I didn't. Excuse me?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I just said I went out there once and they always said, oh, it hardly ever rains in Southern California. And I went, oh, okay. So first time I'm out there, it rains. So
you brought it.
I guess.
Awesome. So Trudy, I know you're one of the OGs, so can you tell the listeners about how you were feeling prior to QHS?
Oh yeah, I can. Yes. Well, I had just turned 70. No, I was 69 when I started, and I just turned 70 this year. So I started in with more stiffness and aches and pains. I mean, I had some before, but it just seemed like, okay, it's getting harder to move around, I always had some issues with my back and my neck because when I was a teenager, I got run over on a hayride. And so that started me into taking care of my back and my neck, for years. And because I used to not be able to move my neck. I used to have to pivot like this,
Oh,
so
wow.
I really was adamant about trying to keep up with that because I didn't want to get shorter because I'm only 4'11" now. And I didn't want to be so stiff and hunched over or anything because my mom had that, how you get osteoporosis and such. And so I really had to work hard at that. And that was one of my main things. So I had several surgeries. So those areas that I had surgery were really stiff, more pain. I kept pushing through, but you just every day just is like, it's constant, you're just not up to what you should be. And so that's why I said, I'm going to do this. I don't know what it's like, but I know it's got to be better than what I've been doing. And I took tons of supplements. I always was taking care of myself. And I detoxed. I did everything that, I came into that I thought was going to help my body,
But you still had pain and you still were stiff.
Yeah, lots.
And then when did you get your first device, Trudy?
I got my first device. Well, I got the belt. So I think it was like July.
Okay.
The end of July. And then that was only, I'd say we probably had that maybe a month when all of a sudden we were getting a small device, and they upgraded because a lot of people were having problems with the battery and stuff that was in the first one and such. And the belt was a little on the hot side, but I could wear it. I didn't mind it. And that started it off. That changed a lot of things. I knew that the first one was doing something. A lot of people said, "Oh, I can feel it." I was like, "I'm not feeling anything, but I know it's doing something."
Right.
And but the second one, I started noticing a little bit more. When I got the third one, the bigger one, like this one right here, that one was like, wow, I could definitely see a difference. A lot of things changed. I think my stress level went from probably a 10 probably down to 2. I just
Wow.
all of a sudden I just felt like, okay, I felt really good. I just didn't even think too much about it. And then I had to like start reassessing. When I got on the Twine calls, with everybody, I'm thinking, wow, I am calmer. I'm not as stressed. I did start to have some emotional things, more um deeper thoughts and deeper heart things happening, like because my mom had been gone for 2 years. I took care of her and I took care of my dad. And my dad died of cancer. That was a big one, because when he passed away, I went to try to find out what I could do to help. And so I ended up in the cancer center at the main hospital here, which is Dartmouth College, Dartmouth Hitchcock. And so I was there for 25 years doing research on different cancer studies. So I
Wow.
learned a lot of things, and yeah, it was really interesting. Um, and then, years ago, my mom starts to get older, and she just wants somebody with her. And then it became more, I'm trying to keep her healthy, which is kind of harder for an older person. They're very geared to their doctor, you know,
Oh yeah.
but
Hmm.
but through some of the things that I did, she started realizing that something was happening. And so she took everything that I gave her. It was funny because, like I said, "Oh, you got to try this, Mom. This is what it's doing," you know. Um, and then when I got the Healy and I was trying to hitch, they had little pads, and I was trying to hitch her up to that. And she's like, "What are these things?" you know? Um, so I really was looking for something that just hitched on her so she wouldn't even have to think about it, or move. "I'm ready to have these things off," she'd say.
Oh, how funny is that?
I know,
Hey, at
but
least she
that
tried. I
was
mean, that's amazing. My mom wouldn't do anything I tried to get her to do.
wow.
So
She
that's
was,
good.
and she saw the differences, like, because some of the things that I had her do, the doctor said something to her. He didn't know what she was doing, but she paid attention to the fact that he's going, "I don't know what you're doing, Mrs. George, but you're like this ever ready bunny." you
How
know,
old was she,
and so
Trudy?
yeah, she was 93 when she passed away. So
Wow.
yeah, so, and I think she probably would have lived a little longer, but I think, the whole COVID things, and we lost, like, I don't know, 13 people out of our family in like a year and a half. And it was all her brothers and her sister-in-law and her brother-in-law, so all of a sudden, I think she was just feeling really lonely, even though
Mm.
she had kids and grandkids. You're from a big family, so you've always been geared to having relationships with all those brothers and sisters, and now they're all gone. you know
Yeah, that's so
and I
sad.
think she was, yeah, but she didn't go in a nursing home. She didn't die sick. So
Good.
that was huge, because I had prayed, You know, just let her go in at her home. And she did. She was in her chair when I came downstairs, you know. And
So it was peaceful. That's good.
yeah,
So
very
let's
much.
bring it back
So
to you.
back to me. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I love this. And so let's talk about how you were feeling. You got this baby. Talk about
Yeah,
how it helped you.
that
How
one.
did it make your life better?
Oh my gosh. Well, I wrote stuff down because I was figuring I wasn't gonna realize it. But all right, so I
Cool.
had rotator cuff surgery. This was very, very painful still because it had a burr when I tore it. So they had to really pull it and stretch it up to fix it. So I still can't really work on my hair. My arm won't get up still a lot, but it is not painful and I can still move it pretty good. So I'm stretching it lots of times to try to do that, but I know that will change. You know, I had a meniscus tear in my knee, so that still bothered me, and my calves used to be so tight. You know, every night when I would get in bed, I was like, oh my God, they were just so tight. And I tried stretching them out and I took magnesium. I did everything, you know, but when I got this, all of a sudden my knee's not hurting and my calves aren't hurting anymore either, you know? So
Wow.
that was big. And I had double carpal tunnel surgery on both my hands. And I had trigger finger release on both of my thumbs and one of my fingers in the middle. So those started moving a lot easier. They weren't so stiff and and tight, you know. And I could exercise them more. I felt like I could really move them a lot better. So and the stress in my forearms, and I don't know if it was because my hands were stiff, but my forearms were always so tired, it seemed like, and I would rub them and I'm like, oh, I just need a massage, you know, because they were so tight. Everything felt in my body like it was tight. And I had done detoxes and I was trying to keep the inflammation out of my system, and you know, so I couldn't figure out why I couldn't move better, you know. So but this has really changed, you know. So I've done a lot of things. I've had several rear end accidents. Somebody's hit me, you know. I don't
Aw.
know. Somebody was out at me. I fell down the stairs several times. I got run over by a hay wagon. My mother wouldn't let me ski because she said, "Nope, you're not skiing." You know. So I never took that up. You know, so I did have a lot of things that happened, but I was still doing pretty good until I got to about 69 or 70. That's when things started really going down, you know. So that was really cool that when I found this, I was hoping for just, you know, less pain. That's what I was hoping for. I didn't really think about all the other things that was going to happen with me. You know, like my eyes are better, my skin is better. I have more skin issues to take care of because when I was 4, I inhaled smoke that they were burning brush, and it was all poison ivy. So I got it systemic in my system. I was in the hospital with poison ivy at 4 years old,
Oh
and I
no.
had it, yeah, till I was 29 years old is when I started having poison ivy all the time. Even in the
Oh
winter, I would get it.
gosh.
And so it scarred my skin, and you know, and I also had very dry skin, and I don't know if that was from having poison ivy so bad, but that's one of the big things I really want to get fixed is my skin, you know, so.
Wow. So talk about your
Huh?
eyes. How did it make your eyes better? What do you mean?
Oh, I just think I started seeing clearer. I mean, I don't wear my glasses only when I drive, and sometimes I've even driven without them. I've forgotten them. And most of the time I need glasses for distance. Hopefully I have them with me when I get stopped for speeding or something, because it says on my license I got to have them, you know. You know. But anyway, yeah, my eyes started, they're whiter than they were. They weren't so red. And um when I was a teenager, the sun lamps were a really big deal when they started coming out with sun lamps. Well, my girlfriend, my roommate, she had one, and so she had it on the table, and I got out of the shower and I said, "Oh, that feels really nice." So I just sat there for a few minutes with the sun lamp, and I was sitting probably like at the table, and it was sitting on the table, so it was probably pretty close. I didn't even think about it. I don't even think I was there 5 or 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, because I don't like a lot of heat. But anyway, I woke up the next morning, I couldn't open my eyes, and
Oh
my
my
eyes
goodness.
were they were totally shut. And if I blinked, it was like sandpaper. It was brutal. And so the my eyes have always been very dark, and having dark circles around here. Um, so, and very red, always red, like I was crying or stuff. So that made a huge difference. I started seeing that. And I didn't have to use as many um tears, artificial tears, to keep
Hmm.
them from being dry.
Yeah.
So that was big. Um, and I think it hasn't like grown out a lot of my hair, but my hair's healthy. So even though I don't have a lot there, that's hormonal, I think. you know.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what they say.
yeah. So I had some cancer before I got done work. It was uterine. So I had that out, a hysterectomy, and I wished I hadn't have done that, but you know, you hear
You're gonna
the
get it
word and
back.
you might you say, let's yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. Getting it back is going to be cool, except for a few things I would kind of like to eliminate, but you got to take the good with the bad, right?
That's right.
but
This is true.
but it might be different though this time. It might be different. I mean, I always had really hard monthlies, and I hardly ever had any kind of cleaning out, because I probably had one day, but I had a week of being miserable,
Hmm.
and all the pain, I was, oh God, I should just have hidden in a room with a locked door or something, because you just feel like so agitated and grumpy and everything.
Well,
So
this one, maybe we won't have any of those side effects because it will be a healthy body, But that's why I started
I
running, because
know.
of cramps. Like I had to take my mind off of it. So I would go running just to alleviate it. So I don't know.
Well,
I'm not looking forward to that.
one of the things I think about in time of age, okay, when I was in high school, you either were in the only few sports they had for women or girls, or you were working, and that's what I was doing. I was working from the time I was probably 13. I started working. And so I had gym, but I never got into any extra career. I tried to go for basketball, me, 4'11", going for basketball. And they all looked at me when I wanted to play. I knew I could do good. I said, I'm fast. I can move really quick. People can't see me because I'm small. So there's a good advantage to that. So,
Sure.
and I liked volleyball. all of these sports that I picked were like more taller people were in them, but I liked them. But so I never ran. We didn't do, jogging back then or anything. And so, my exercise was very minimal besides riding a bike, doing your normal stuff. I walked a lot. I waitressed. I did a lot of active jobs, but I could see later on that I wished I had had that because it really it primes your body, I think, to crave it.
Maybe.
You know.
Yeah, that would make
Does
sense.
that?
That
Yeah,
would
you
make
crave
sense.
the endorphins or whatever.
Oh
And
yeah.
so but I think that's kind of where I felt like all of a sudden I'm really stiff. I was so active. I was really active, even though I didn't do sports per
Hmm.
se.
Yeah.
And but I also played guitar. So when my arms and my hands went through this thing, I didn't play guitar. I stopped. I didn't stop singing. I just stopped playing guitar. And so now I really am trying to move my fingers again and getting myself back into it. It's slowly because I can't. This arm, the shoulder still doesn't move really good, but everything
Have
else is really.
Have you seen the mobility video I did?
No.
I did a hug video on mobility, and shoulder mobility is really complicated because there's so many, it's a rotational joint, but
Yeah.
those mobility exercises might help you. So check that out while we
Okay.
wait. But pretty soon we get to go in the Q arc, and since you're an early adopter, you get to be one of the first through it, after admin and the VIPs. So what are you excited about? You have a
VIP. I'm a VIP and I'm a moderator.
Oh, you're a moderator. Woo-hoo! So you're going to be going right after us. That's so cool.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
basically you have a 70-year-old amount of wisdom that you get to apply to a healthy 30-year-old body.
I know. I am so excited about that because, all right, what we just talked about, look, I'm going to be able to do all that stuff, and I'm going to be able to I might be able to take up skiing, I might be able to do all this stuff that I didn't get to do.
You just read my mind. I swear I was going to ask you, do you think you'll try skiing now? That mom can't tell you no?
Yeah. I mean, snowboarding, maybe snowboarding might be better for me than two skis. You know what I mean? After a few accidents, after I had those things, I said, you might want to do this way, a bigger board.
Cool. Cool. So what are you going to do though? What excites you about this?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, I have a lot of humanitarian projects for one thing. And I actually really want a schoolie bus, a small schoolie bus redone over for an RV. And I want to go on the road, you know? And I want to have a couple of houses, small houses here and maybe one, in another location like Tennessee or someplace. But I want a bus where I can travel and I can go see my friends and see people I know. And, I want to take the home healing unit on the road, And
Fabulous.
so, yeah, I just really, I want some adventure. I've worked my whole life almost, it seems like, and I've always given up things and haven't had much vacation. I never took a 2-week vacation ever. And so I really want to see some things, and I want to experience some things. But I definitely have when this whole thing happened with the RV and the QHS, I never dreamed like I dreamed. I mean, the things that I wrote down that I wanted to do was, oh my gosh, it was so out of my realm of thinking, like I would ever be able to do anything like this, you know? And so, I mean, I want to build a village. I want to build a community village that has, um, for veterans and elderly people, a community of small houses and things that, you know, everybody can have their own little place. But I want a huge barn in the middle of this village that has sustainable gardens, that has a floor that's all for art and pottery and everything, for quilting, anything that, you know, people want to do for art. Another floor that's going to be music, and, you know, a woodworking shop and stuff for people to make things, and then a store that they can sell their stuff, you know, and keep bringing money back into the village, you know. I've had all these things, and I also want a program with the local schools so that there's an exchange with the young people and the old people, that they would be able to learn from each other, you know, and
Uh,
have have programs together, you know. So that's another big one. Besides that, I have, one of my big ones is a healing center, and I want a couple of the QARC beds, and I want a place that has stuff for people to use when they leave healed, to keep that up. And I want classes, I want dancing, I want all sorts of stuff going on. You know, people can come to dances and exercise type of things, but all sorts of fun things, you know.
yeah,
So
community, a
that's
sense of
one of my big
community.
goals.
I love
Yeah.
that. That sounds like a blast because that's what we're missing nowadays. You know, the other day, I live in the country and I live by this park, and I go out and I turn off my phone and I talk to God and I talk to nature and I just work with energy, and I just, it's like my movie meditation. And I see this young couple, okay, maybe 30. They are walking, I mean, out in God's country, out in nature, and they are both on their phone looking down, not talking. And that's what the world is today, Trudy. It's like
I
everybody's
know.
so plugged in. We were out with friends, and so many of them, my cell phone's always in my purse. It is not on the table. And a couple of them, they were distracted by their cell phones. And I'm just like, put your damn phone away. It's like
I
we
know.
need to be
They don't.
together.
Yeah, people haven't. I was in an airport in Puerto Rico, and I'll tell you this real quick, but I was sitting there and I looked around, and I was probably the only one that wasn't on my phone or my iPad or my laptop, you know. And I was looking around and I noticed this homeless man, and it was so hot in that airport, and he's got this big heavy coat on, and all of a sudden he puts it on the floor and he lays down. And I'm looking at all these people, and they're like, you know, they don't move their head, they don't act like they know him or he's there, you know. And at one point I hear water, and I said, well, shoot, I just got a water, you know, in a few minutes. So then I hear it again, and I went, oh. So I went and bought a water for this man. And when I went over, his hands were so fat from like fluid, you know. And I said, hi. I said, you know, it's really hot in here. I said, I just thought I'd give you one of these. And he said, oh, thank you. And so I'm walking away and I'm hearing this bang, bang, bang. Well, he couldn't twist the top off of the water bottle. It was one of those
Aw.
little ones, and his hands were so fat, you know. So I went back and opened it for him. Nobody said anything or looked or did any. It was the weirdest thing. I felt like I was in this movie, Frozen in Time or something. It just was so strange. And this poor man, you know, you could tell he really needed some handy wipes or something, you know. So I went and bought him some of those and I gave it to him, you know. But nobody looked at him. Nobody
Aw,
said
bless your
anything.
heart. Bless your heart,
Well,
Trudy.
well, it just means, you know, that's what I really couldn't oh my God, we're so disconnected, you
Yes,
know, and
yes.
then when we are connected, it's on social media where nobody can see you. So you can say anything negative and anything bad to anybody and walk away, you know, thinking you're never going to see that person
That's why I got
face to
off
face.
Facebook like 2 years ago. I'm like, I've had it with this. But here's the good news, Trudy. People saw you doing what you did. They saw you doing what you did, whether they acted on it or not. You planted a seed inside of them.
Yeah.
So hopefully that seed will, grow and they'll come out of their stupor.
Super.
They're just
Yeah.
asleep, right? They're just asleep in themselves.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I
So
think people are starting to kind of wake up a little bit out of this slumber.
yeah,
Because I'm seeing, you know, people respond a little bit differently, and I
hmm
think they're waking up. They might not be where we are, but they're coming into it, you know.
yeah.
But we definitely need QHS. I mean, the Twine Zoom calls changed me. It did. It changed me. And oh, and it was funny because I think who was it that said something about a scar? I think it was Trace, wasn't it? Oh gosh, isn't that
Oh, it
bad?
was Julie. Julie. She had a
Julie.
big scar on her
Yes,
leg.
Julie. And I went, oh my God. Well, I had a rake that went into my foot when I was a kid. We were playing hide and seek. And I had this big scar because it was one of those big hay metal rakes. And it was brutal. I remember this. And you know, every time I thought about it, I could feel it. You know, you could feel that sensation, you know. And so when she said that, I went, oh my God. I looked down at my foot and my scar was gone. And I went, oh my God,
Whoa.
I know, I know. And I had never noticed it before. And then I started thinking, wow, it's a scar, you know, and it's gone because those are long-term deep things, you know.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so this little baby was really key in changing that. I was like, oh my God.
That's so
You
cool.
know,
That's a good one.
yeah, it
I'm
was like,
watching my scars, waiting for them to go. And I want to get those varicose veins. I've heard other people say their varicose veins are going away, and I have those horribly. So I'm
yeah,
definitely looking forward to that.
I got them when I was waitressing for so many years. I used to have to carry those big heavy trays and stuff, and it
Mm,
was like my legs really didn't look pretty. That's for
yeah,
sure.
that's how I
I
feel.
could
I
never
had,
tan. I could never tan below the knee either, you know?
oh,
I could my feet could tan, my knees and my thighs, but not my calves. And I'm like going, what's with that, you know? You know?
that's funny. So, what would you like to say in closing, Trudy?
Well, you know, if I could say anything to anybody is don't be afraid to try something. Don't be afraid to look into things that might be out of your box of thinking because, you know, we don't know uh, what's out there because we've not been exposed to a lot of things that we weren't privy to before. You know,
hmm
we grew up um, we grew up with natural things to begin with back years ago in the 50s when I was kind of born. Um, but after a while, everything went to pharmaceuticals, and we weren't allowed. We weren't even allowed to get apricot nuts in here. You know that had
The seeds, yeah.
B17 or Yeah, the seeds. And I'm like, what's with that? So we really need to think outside the box and really look at something. And if somebody says, hey, you should look into this, do it, because somebody was put in your path to tell you something to change your life. And they wouldn't have told you if they didn't care about you. And
Yes.
that's huge. That's huge. Try. Just look at things. Don't be
Mhm.
afraid. Have your faith bigger than your fear.
For sure.
So,
Awesome. Great wisdom, my friend. I love it. Well, Trudy, you are just a delight. So I just want to thank you so much for coming to spend time with me and sharing your amazing story.
well, thank you for having me. It was great spending time with you too. I learned a lot more about you.
Well, I'm an open book. Sometimes I say more than people want to hear, but that's just Tracy. So will you come back and do part 2 after the QR?
Oh, totally. Totally.
Well,
I
I
hope
look
we're all
forward to
going to
it.
look better.
Oh, I know.
Okay. Maybe
We
I'll have a
will.
little height on me.
Hey, embrace your
All
height. I'm
right.
going to tell you a story really quick. In ballet, when I was young, because I'm not tall, but I'm on the taller side, I was always the boy. And finally I said, screw this. I don't want to be in ballet anymore. But it was just because I was tall. So there is an advantage of being smaller.
Yeah, there's an advantage, and you can get around things really quickly too, a little bit, but every once in a while, and you can meet a lot of people because you're always saying, hey, excuse me, sir, you're tall, can you reach something for me? I don't know how
Awesome.
many conversations I get in with people you know
Oh, I'm not
so
surprised.
thank you
That's
so much.
awesome. Okay, my dear, have a beautiful day. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for making this QHS project fly. This valorous admin team, thank you. The Key community welcomes you. Thank you for making your home QHS healthy and happy. Thank you for helping us place QH centers all around the world. Together, hand in hand, we make miracles happen. QuantumHealingSystems.org. Thank you.